Definitely could have done without actually having to replace the alternator.
Oh yes.
So guys, actually last night I was finishing up on the cooling system on this thing, and I had the car running for quite a long time with the lights on, and then I turned it off, and then I turned it back on again a couple of seconds later, and it really struggled to start. So I thought, uh-oh, that only really means one thing, doesn't it? It's probably not charging. Grabbed the multimeter and checked the battery whilst the engine was running. Obviously, for those that don't know, when it's running, you should be seeing between 13 and 14 volts. And obviously when the car's off, when the battery's charged, it should be at 12 volts. And then I tested the back of the alternator directly to make sure that it wasn't a cable or a connection, something like that. And same thing, the alternator wasn't putting out a charge. We were running about 8 or 9 volts. So I was like, oh no, I need an alternator. But then I thought, well, why isn't the battery light on if it's not getting a charge? Normally that light comes on the dash, the little battery light. If that bulb isn't working on the dash for any reason, the circuit's not complete, the alternator doesn't get what's called an exciter current that tells it to put out a charge. It can be spinning, but it doesn't actually charge anything. So hopefully it's just a bad bulb in the dash, and once we replace that, our alternator will be putting out a charge. It's worth noting though, we can test it. If this bulb isn't working, or there's an issue with that circuit, so it doesn't receive its exciter current and it doesn't actually start putting out a charge, another way you can get the alternator to start charging is to actually bring the RPMs of the engine way up. If you rev the engine out, so I think it has to be over 2000 RPM or more, higher RPM, that does the same thing as this exciter current and actually gets the alternator to start putting out a charge. So that's another way you can go around it. But yeah, we'll try both things today, and hopefully it's that, because obviously those things would be a lot easier than having to replace an alternator. Let's have a look. Sorry about the clack, 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 clack. At least it's not as bad as the 200 series. But there you go, look. What have we got? We got that annoying thing over there. Bulb failure, but that will go out once I start it. And if I press the brake pedal, once it knows all the bulbs are working, that goes out. Obviously in the middle there, we've got our handbrake indicator. And then we've got oil pressure over there. So yeah, there you go. So there's no battery light, so that's our issue. Only the best camera angles on this channel. Now, luckily for us, the screws are already out of this thing. It's already been out. So that's probably a really bad thing, because maybe someone's already tried to deal with this issue and been unsuccessful. Yeah, so I'm just going to unplug all those things and slide this cluster out and then take it apart in better light with better camera angles, I promise. And yeah, we'll have a look at that bulb and we'll see what's going on. I think I found it in the daylight. I think it's this one. See it in there? Battery. That's probably why they had this out. Problem is, has it blown? I can't even tell. To be honest guys, I think it's alright, you know. So I actually decided it would be a better idea to use a bulb that we know is definitely working. So I actually took out the bulb out of the one for the warning light bulb. The bulb for the warning light bulbs. The warning light bulb. Took it out of there. Put it where our battery light should be, and then put the battery light one into the bulb warning light one. So, you know, if we've got the same as before, we definitely know it's not the bulbs. And then we can push on. Oh yes. Oh, that's new. What's that now? Okay, we've got a lot more lights this time. We replaced one bulb and now we've got 3 more lights. Before we just had the one brake warning light, didn't we? But we didn't, I don't think we had the handbrake one. We just had brake warning. But also we got this mysterious looking light as well.
alien looking thing. That's quite interesting. Yeah, guys, there we go. And we actually took the bulb out of that one because we knew that was definitely working. It was definitely a good bulb. And we put it in our battery light one, and we put the battery light one in our bulb warning one. But now they both work. So obviously it wasn't the bulb, it was a connection somewhere. So when they've took it apart, probably to wind back the miles, they haven't plugged something back in properly. So there we go, so we should have charge now. Let's fire it up and see what happens. That's not what we wanted to see. Those f***ers, man, I knew they were up to something. So they weren't winding back the mileage. They were unplugging something to get rid of all these lights. Oh, there we go. Battery light just went out. But now it's charging anyway. Seatbelt light. So we just got one. Well, that's a relief. Alternator's fine. Everything's charging now. Yeah, it's just already spent a bit on this car and we haven't even got started yet. There's a lot to do. So definitely could have done without actually having to replace the alternator or rebuild it. Kind of disappointing though, because it probably would have made a good video, but I'm sure I'm going to need to do it someday. I mean, it's probably the original 33-year-old alternator, so you know, it's not going to last forever.